Welcome, everyone. I am Joyce Munyon. I am the web coordinator for the College of Engineering here at Villanova. I'm also on the planning committee for this Beyond Ideas event, and it just so happens that I am in the process of bringing a product to market, hopefully through a licensing agreement and hopefully really soon. With working full-time and having a family, the decision for me to begin this process and my daily decision every day to keep it moving forward has altered my life dramatically. Today we have two speakers who have been there, done that, and are still doing it, and they're going to give you their perspective on how it affected their life and the challenges that they faced. The committee thought this session was a good idea to let the students and any entrepreneur wannabe to get an idea of what this process looks like through glasses without dollar signs and what challenges you may face, real ones that could come up. So our first speaker is Eric Griffin Shelley. He is a computer engineering graduate from our Villanova class of 2005. He started Import GSM as a undergraduate student in the year 2003. He then, since then, developed Clearcoat, which is an accessory manufacturer in Philadelphia. And Eric is going to tell us his perspective, the challenges that he faced at a time when I'm sure there were a few things going on in your life and how it affected you. So Eric, come on up.
Thank you, Joyce. How's everyone doing? Let me know if I drift from this mic too much because I'm a pacer. My name is Eric Griffin. As she said, I was an engineering student of the class of 2005. And I kind of want to start out with a question. How many people use a screen protector or a case for a gadget? And how many people use Clearcoat? Okay. The point of that is that you don't need a unique idea. It's not a necessity. Our newest venture, Clearcoat, as she mentioned, we manufacture an accessory in Philadelphia that protects your gadget from scratches, something hundreds of companies have been doing and already do. And to give you an idea of what it is, because it sounds so obscure, I brought a few examples. I'm going to step away from this for now, but what we did was we coated half of this phone with Clearcoat, front and back, and half is bare. And it gives you an idea. You probably can't see from back here, but I'm going to pass it out. You can pass it around. I'll also give you some sandpaper. So feel free to destroy that. Get an idea of what the product does so that you really understand it. It's a neat material. It's got a lot of limitations, and if we have time at the end, we'll demo it a little more. But like I said, destroy those phones for me. They're not real, so it doesn't matter. The other thing I want to pass out, sorry I forgot, is another innovation we're making within this market, and that's an ability to print on this material, which actually has never been done. We're not ready to go out to market with it yet, but this is an example of an application if we were able to print on this material. So just to give you an idea of what we do with this new venture, but I'm going to backtrack a little bit and explain how I got there. And as Joyce said, it's all basically through failure, which is something I always like to stress because you're going to fail and it's actually a positive. So I started out as a sophomore at Villanova selling hard drives online, completely unrelated to what I do now. I basically did what's called drop shipping, where you sell a product first, you get paid for it, and you use that money to purchase the product, have it shipped directly to the customer. It allows you to have zero inventory and allows you to get into something with no funds, which works out in college. So I worked for about 6 months, and then something happened, an oversaturation of the market. Too many people were doing what I was doing. It was too easy, basically. And profitability dropped. So it's time to go back to the drawing board, and that's when I got into cell phones, sort of by accident. So I saw a niche market to sell cell phones that weren't available in the US. I would import them from Europe and Asia, and I would retail them online, which seemed great because there were only maybe 6 or 7 people doing it. That worked for about a year. Again, oversaturation of the market, tons of people got into it, and profitability declined. So I was seeing a trend here. So I rethought it again. This was maybe junior year of college. Decided I'm going to wholesale. I'm going to get out of retail. I'm going to buy in higher quantities, and I'm going to distribute to companies that don't sell these products already. So that worked for about 2 years. I got out of college. We got an office. We started wholesaling to larger companies. And the same thing happened. More competition entered. Whenever you have competition, because it's a free market, people start to undercut each other and profitability declines. So we made another smart decision. Let's go back to retail. Let's go back to where we failed from, basically. We went back to retail, but this time with a different take. We started a website. The whole appeal to this website, which is Import GSM, we still do that today, is a premium service. We support the customer. We do things that no other company does, like an extended warranty. We buy back used items for a credit. And we try and make it work and differentiate ourselves from competition through those means. And while that works, it's the same trend. Profitability declined quarter after quarter. So it's important to keep reassessing your situation and migrating as things change. Because profitability was so low, this was about 8 months ago, we decided we're going to sell as many accessories as we can to boost per sale revenue and profit. One accessory in particular sold incredibly well. There was a problem though. That accessory is so custom, as you can see there, to each model. We have to carry a different accessory for every single cell phone model. The other problem is in the cell phone industry, there's a new hot model every month. So you stock up on this accessory, all of a sudden that phone you bought it for doesn't sell anymore, and you throw the accessory out. It's worthless. It doesn't sell. So that's when we thought, what if we made this product? What if we took the step, bought the equipment, manufactured ourselves? We'd have zero inventory, basically where our roots started from. We'd boost profitability, and we'd be able to make it on demand. So we took that step. Excuse me, get some water. We took that step and we bought that equipment. And that was an important step. The reason that was an important step is because it showed us the flaw in all of our previous business models that didn't work. That flaw is barrier to entry. It's important to ask yourself, if you have an idea or you're thinking of an idea, is there a barrier to entry? The reason why the previous models failed was due to competition. That's why I kept repeating that. Competition can enter so quickly when there's no barrier to entry. It's also important to know your competition. At Clearcoat, we knew our competition well because we used to buy from our competition. Then we decided to make it ourselves. Most people, I think, view competition as a barrier to entry, but that's not true. Competition actually is a positive thing. We were able to look at our competition before we started and find out what markets they were ignoring. Even though they're a $1 million company, publicly traded, and had sold millions of units when we entered the market, they ignored the wholesale and distribution niche market. They went right to the consumer. So we saw that as an opportunity. We can make this product, we can have a lower cost, but more importantly, we can focus on a market that has demand and it's being ignored. While the other companies spending marketing dollars creating consumer awareness, driving up demand, we can ride on those coattails and hit the niche market that they're ignoring. So that was the idea of Clearcoat. It's also incredibly important to adapt and change with changing environments. For example, importing a cell phone with a weak dollar and retailing it in a poor economy is not a good idea. Hence, Import GSM's climb to profitability. However, manufacturing a $25 accessory in a poor economy that prolongs the life of a device you previously owned so you don't have to buy a new one does work. And that's simply us adapting to a changing economic condition or a changing environment. And it's difficult as a business owner. When you start your business, you have this idea of what you want it to be, how you want it to behave. And it's difficult to deviate from that sometimes. If someone gives you feedback or things aren't working, you want to stick to your guns, but it's important to keep experimenting and keep reevaluating. You want to improve on your inadequacies so the next time around you don't make the same mistake. Another important lesson we learned is everything's going to take twice as long as you think, and it's going to cost twice as much as you think. And they told us that in engineering, and I didn't listen, so now I'm going to tell it to you again. When we started Clearcoat, we started selling in June. By July, a month later, we had a letter in the mail from a law firm that said, "Dear Clearcoat, you're infringing on our client's patent, please cease and desist." We said, all right. I actually contacted Trish. She put me in touch with Joe Powers, and we sent him the letter. We said, "Joe, what's going on? Are we infringing on this patent?" He said, "Absolutely not. But we still have to write a response. It's still going to cost time. It's still going to cost money." And so it's important when you are starting your idea, you have to stay focused on what it is you're supposed to be concentrating on. You're going to hit speed bumps. You're going to hit hurdles. They're going to try and throw you off. And while it's important to take care of those one step at a time, it's important also not to lose focus on what you really need to be concentrating on. And that stuff happened all the time, and if you ever need another example, let me know. I've got millions. So that leads me to failure being key. I've always accredited failure to my success. The only reason I did cell phones was because hard drives failed. The only reason I did distribution is because retail failed. The only reason I did clear coat is because all of that failed. When you do fail, again, you reassess everything. You hit that drawing board with your previous experience, and you're able to fine-tune and hit the road running again. Another thing, actually, I just thought of that I didn't put down here to talk about is when you're starting your foundation, you're going to need a partner. It doesn't have to be a monetary partner. You can't do it alone. And I tried. I failed at that. But picking the perfect partner is important. You hear a lot of times people have horror stories about their business partner. My partner's the opposite of me. I'll rush into something, and he'll take years to think about it. He'll take so long to think about it, it'll never happen. But that works out because you reach a happy medium and you see both sides of the coin. So I think it's important also, I don't have much to talk about it, but when you're starting your foundation or your idea, branch out and don't be afraid to talk to people and find an important partner, because it really is a big part of your foundation. But everyone here has a huge advantage that I didn't have. You're all interested in business, you're looking for it. Maybe you have an idea or you're trying to figure out how to come up with that idea. But the point is you're here looking for the correct ways to build that foundation. Business sort of hit me in the face and I caught it and I ran with it, but I didn't have this situation that you guys have, and that's advice on how to start things correctly. I had to fail, and that taught me the right way to do it. But obviously it took a lot longer than you guys. It's important for you guys to take that idea or harness that concept of the idea, fall in love with it, and do whatever you can to bring it to market, because it will happen, no matter how many barriers it seems to be. And that's all I got. How are we doing on the demos? Did you destroy them or no? Yeah. There you go. So I'll show you something else cool for a couple minutes. I can try. I need help, though.
I'll help you.
You want help? I need someone strong.
Oh, strong?
Strong.
I don't know about strong, but I'll help you.
So it's a neat material. I just want to show off another quality of it. Aside from the scratch proof that you can see on the demos, just pull on it as hard as you can. As hard as you can. So it takes an incredible amount of force to break it. It's a really fascinating material. It's got a lot of applications in the market. And we were so impressed by it. That's what, it wasn't our idea, but when we saw the flaws in the market, that's what pushed us over the edge to do it, because it's just such a fascinating product. That's all. Yeah, it's on my iPhone. If you want to, I don't know where it is. If you want to power it on, it doesn't. It's 100% optically clear. You can actually put it on sunglasses, camera lenses. We've done watches. People, even on like a link watch, you can get in the links. You can get it on anything. It's predominantly used in the auto industry. I don't know if you've ever heard of Clear Bra or Roadblock. It's a similar material, different properties because we're on such a micro level, but it's the same concept. It's a urethane. No, it actually prevents fingerprint. Like on the new iPhone, it's so glossy, it'll pick up fingerprints real easily. Because this is more of a matte finish, it doesn't prohibit at all. It's an amazing material, it really is. And we were so impressed by it, we just ran with it.
Laptops as well?
Yeah, the only problem is, like MacBooks, MacBook Pros, MacBook Airs, we can do the whole body. The only problem is you can't put it on the screen because they're soft. It's an aggressive adhesive, so when you went to pull on it, you may pull out that screen. That's the only time when we did that, we freaked out. And that's the only drawback we found. Now we could get the film with a less aggressive adhesive, and that would work fine. But even on like the trackpad, you know how these trackpads tend to wear down over time?
Yeah.
You can throw it right on that, it doesn't affect it.
What about the used ones that do fingerprint analysis?
Yep, that's no problem. Because it's optically clear, it doesn't refract the light in any other way. Oh yeah, he asked if it would interfere with a fingerprint analysis trackpad or other device, and it doesn't because it's optically clear, and it can conduct electricity just like the surface of a touch screen. It doesn't prohibit that.
Do you own the product, or do you just sell the product?
We own the brand, and we're in the process of patenting certain techniques. The film was invented by 3M. They own the rights to it. So the reason you can't patent that is that's like trying to patent putting paint on a wall. You know, we're throwing their material on an electronic, so we're limited in what we can patent. Anyone is. But the processes we go through in order to cut and print on it, that can be patented.
Okay. We'll take more questions.
Yeah, we're going to do more later because
after
Nick's
we're
going
going to do a combination
But thank
question
you.
and answer session. Our next speaker is Nick Perini. He developed, built, made successful, and sold his first entrepreneurial venture and is now embarking on yet another, a two-time winner almost right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Nick's going to give us a real-life perspective on what it's like to go through it once, be successful, and then have the courage and strength to do it all again.
It's all about the money. Thank you. I see some familiar faces from an earlier session we did today. This one's a little bit different. In that previous session, I talked a little bit about a new company we started a couple years ago called Digital All-Star. This company that I started about 25 years ago almost is Technolog. We're in the automotive research field. So anyway, really, I guess, you know, before I really get started in this, I got to tell you how excited I am to be here in front of all of you. You know, when I woke up this morning, I mean, I thought I can come here. I get to talk about myself because this is a story about Technolog and how we grew this from a bedroom of a house, and then to share the story with you, hoping that maybe somehow we can inspire you to do it on your own. Because you got to figure, you know, when I'm done this, you're going to say, man, if that guy can start a business and run a business for about 20 years, anybody can. So that was kind of my motivation, and like I said, I'm really excited about, you know, being able to talk about this. And if I can inspire someone, so much the better. Joyce, am I running here? Okay. I sold the business about 2 years ago. It was something I started in the bedroom of my house, and you'll see right now you're looking at Hearst Corporation. That's the company I sold it to. That is their world headquarters, their corporate headquarters in New York. Kind of a funky building. Actually, it looks like it kind of collapses at night or something. But it's one of the first green buildings in New York, down on 54th Street. But like I said, you'll see our corporate headquarters, or how we started in the bedroom of the house in a couple slides here. But I think what was good about this, you know, I had a nice ride for 25 years. In fact, I'm still employed by them for the next 2 years, and then we'll see what happens after that. But it also gave me a chance to start this other venture, this Digital All-Star, which I'm really excited about too. And I want to back up. You know, I jumped ahead here to when I sold the business, and in this last couple of years to the Hearst Corporation. But I actually got my start at an automotive parts store. In fact, I had started college but never really got to finish. I started a part-time job at this mainline automotive and then got an opportunity to do it full-time. And to this day, I actually kind of still regret the fact that I never finished school, because oftentimes when I'd be sitting at a client or a prospect's desk or talking to them, I always felt as I was at a disadvantage. And, you know, and even to this day, I know we've had some success and kind of gotten over that a little bit. But my point to you is, you know, please, those, you know, stick in school. You have one of a world-class institution here, this Villanova University, with world-class teachers and a staff, and I know they really care. I know firsthand that these people care about you. They put on events like this, and to see that, you know, for your success. So again, stick it out, be here, and again, it is, like I said, it's a world-class organization or institution here, this university. But anyway, moving on, I was working at this automotive parts store for a couple years, about 4 years, and life was good. In fact, I married my high school sweetheart in our early 20s, and spent a couple years at this mainline automotive before I went on to the Chilton Company. That is actually a picture of me, about 40 pounds lighter, with a little bit more hair. They actually asked me to be on the cover of one of their magazines, and I don't know who might be familiar with Chilton, but it was really the automotive Bible. Anybody who was working on cars back then, even today, knew of the Chilton manuals. But anyway, they asked me. It was funny. They were doing a Latin American version. This is the U.S. version. They were doing Latin American. I was the only ethnic-looking person in the whole company of 1,500 people. You know, this guy is half Irish and half Italian. But anyway, so that's how I got on the cover. And everything I want to know about a car, I learned from Kathy there, because she was pointing to my dipstick there. From there, and here's work headquarters for Technolog back in the early 80s, or mid-80s, I guess it was about. That's the bedroom of my house. Again, that's a picture of me. 40 pounds, 50 pounds lighter, something like that. the neat thing here, is, and I had fun putting this presentation together, is that old IBM AT, well, actually it was brand new at the time, and that was the first PC class computer that had an internal hard drive. Now, put this in perspective, back in the 80s, this PowerPoint presentation would not run on that computer. Anyway, so I wanted to kind of point that out. Something else I want to point out on this slide is this NCMA survey. The NCMA was the National Catalog Managers Association. They asked us if we would be willing to participate in a survey for their service providers, or for service providers to evaluate companies that provided or services to manufacturers. They were our customers, companies like AC Delco and Delphi. And I said, sure, we'd love to participate. And then it resulted in that survey with kind of a good news, bad news things. The good news was that nobody ever said anything bad about us. The bad news was that nobody even knew about us at the time. So we were just trying to get this company going. And it had been a couple years in the making. I have my sister here in the audience, so she gets a kick out of this one. As we're trying to get this business going, I was working part-time, trying to keep the lights on in a quarry. I also was pouring concrete during the daytime. And before all that started, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I was delivering newspapers. And while all along, I wanted to try to get this company, Technolog, going. Again, what I did is I went out and that IBM AT machine that you saw, I actually borrowed some money from my dad in order to buy that, and then tried to learn the manuals and read all about that stuff. Wasn't going real good at the time. But I had this guy who's now gotten a little bit older, still wearing the plaids. This is my brother. He was answering the phone for me. He's actually went on to make it. My dad would always tell me, go talk to your brother. He was the smart one. He is actually turned out to be an attorney. He's a lead merger and acquisition attorney for Hewlett-Packard. But he still does dress like that. But anyway, he would be home answering the phone. And one day, I'll never forget, it had been, years. Not like Eric's situation. We didn't try a lot of things and had a lot of failures. Our failure was really to get going. I mean, we tried for, I think we were probably into our second or third year, trying to get this company off the ground. And I'll never forget, I got home one day, Paul was there. He said, you've got a call from a Doug Harris. He said, as soon as you can, give him a call back. I said, wow, this Doug Harris was with General Motors, and what it was about, a couple weeks, or I guess it was a couple weeks before that, I scraped up enough money to get on a plane and fly to Detroit and meet with Doug. And now here comes this moment of truth. We really had no business up until then. Again, it was out delivering newspapers, working in the quarry, doing all that. But now, this moment of truth, I'm going to call Doug Harris. And I was a little bit nervous, as you can imagine, because at that time, we had gotten used to failure. We had gotten used to rejection. A lot of times, we say, gee, we like what you're doing. But we were up against Chilton Company, too. This is a company that I left. Well, we actually went, it was kind of one of those David and Goliath stories. So we actually began to compete with them. So it was tough getting going, but I'll never forget going home that day, making that call, almost hoping that Doug Harris was not going to answer the phone. What was he going to tell us? If it was bad news, were we going to be able to keep going? I mean, we're pretty much spent working hard with really nothing to really show for it. But then I thought, well, what was good news? If it's good news, maybe we're going to last a little bit longer. So I called Doug up and I said, a little small talk, and then he said, look, we'd like you to prepare some reports for us. When can you have them done? And conversation was like, well, when do you want them? He said, well, how about in a month? And I said, how about in 2 weeks? And from that point on, we were in business, and never really looked back. Getting that AC Delco or General Motors account really helped us establish us. And what I found out from that, one of the lessons from that was, persistence and keeping a positive attitude and keep going. When we thought all was lost, or that there was really, people were afraid to make the commitment to come with us, because here was this Chilton company, this organization of 1,500 employees that was the automotive, bedrock, or us. Here was us working in our bedroom. But AC Delco, General Motors decided to go with us. Funny thing about that story is, later on, I actually found out that AC Delco bought information from us and Chilton and compared them. And he found out that what we had done was with that AT, that IBM AT computer, we had developed a better technology. We were able to give them reports they had never seen before up until that time. And AC Delco went with us. and then it kind of, as years went by, we actually found out that Chilton, the company, the organization, the division I had worked for, dissolved, and the company kind of broken up and really is not around anymore. So here's a kind of an institution in the automotive industry that, 15 years ago, up until about 10 years ago, was there, and now they're gone. We happen to still survive for whatever reasons. I think part of it was, as this session talks about, Chicken Soup for the Innovator, it was really innovation that was the key. That technology, that IBM class machine, it really helped us, establish us getting these reports done. But it was more than that. It was also customer service. When a customer would call us, they'd get a live person. If they went to Chilton, it kind of went into a black hole. So it was a lot of things that we felt were important, and we always needed to stay innovative. We always needed to be on top of our game, which led us into some really cool things. When Chilton kind of dissolved and broke up, we were past that. They were kind of in our rearview mirror already, because we got involved with the industry. Being innovative, again, made us think about what we needed to do, not only for our own company, but what we could give back to this industry. And we got involved with industry standards. What happened as a result of that, getting this involved in this innovation, was that we are now, this little company that operated from a bedroom, is involved with just about every part that gets sold in this country. We had something to do with it, whether it be through the industry standards or whether it be is through the research that we provide to these manufacturers. And this is a $160 billion automotive parts aftermarket. It's a huge, one of the largest, I think the fourth largest, markets in the country, or maybe even the world. But anyway, we're right in the center of it. And I brought in this slide. Last year, I was awarded the Automotive Aftermarket Visionary Award. And I guess my point, I don't like talking about myself, but again, getting a chance to be in front of you, talk about how, from humble beginnings you can start. And here's a guy that, I really, I thought my life would be spent at a parts counter. And here I am, 20 years later, being last year given the Automotive Aftermarket Visionary Award. I still think they made a mistake. But it was kind of the culmination of a career. And again, my message, like I talked about in the beginning, if I can do this, and I believe you have it in you to do it. You're here, you're showing up, you want to learn, and I just figured if I can share something, you can take this and say, wow, if that guy can do it, I can do it too. So that was what that slide was all about. And I guess when I go back and I think about all the things that we've done, what are the lessons that I've learned? I can make it real simple, because it's kind of a simple guy. And I've got what I call my ABCs. First of all, it's your attitude. You've got to have the right attitude, a positive attitude. And, as I was putting the slides together, I just started to use this word imagine. Imagine when you wake up tomorrow, and with this positive attitude, you decide that you want to change the world. And then your belief system. If you believe, imagine if you believe that when you wake up tomorrow, that you can change the world. The C is the commitment. Just imagine tomorrow if you wake up and you decide you're committed to changing the world. My final slide is, imagine what that world will look like tomorrow. It's in your hands. Thank you. That's my presentation.
Good job, Nick. Stay up here. And actually, Eric, you want to come on back up? We're going to open it up to questions. Anyone have questions for anybody on the panel?
What's your name again? Sorry.
Mine's Eric.
Yeah. You said you started with computer engineering?
Yeah, here, computer engineering.
How did you end up where you are now, starting with the computer engineering?
You mean like, why did I go into business?
Yeah.
It was really by accident. Basically, I worked with Trish freshman year, really wanted an internship for engineering, and I didn't get it because I had no experience. So I needed money, basically. So the hard drive thing that I started with was totally by accident. I was looking online for myself. I found a website that had them for like $170. Then I went on eBay and they were at like $240. So I thought, why not sell at $230 and buy it $160? And then when that worked, I fell so much in love with the concept of doing that and building something out of that I just ran with that. I never thought about, from that point on, I really never thought about engineering. I just thought about business. So it was really an accident.
I'm interested in the clear code product. How does it work? If I have a phone and I'm interested in
there's a couple ways to do it. If you're buying a phone on importgsm.com, you can buy the phone and we'll install it for you. If you have your phone already, we have clearcoat.com. It's like clear-coat.com. You buy the product Clearcoat, and we ship you. It's in retail packaging. All the tools are inside that you need to install it. There's a liquid and a squeegee, basically. So it's a film. We send in the package the custom cut film. You check out with your model, and you apply it yourself. And then we have a warranty in place so that if you mess up installation, because it's not easy, it's not hard, but it takes patience, you're covered. We send you another one. So you can buy it. You don't need to send anything into us. Everything is online.
Does it protect it against water?
It doesn't protect water damage because we cut around things like microphone holes, earpiece holes. We have separate pieces, but you can't get it all. So the only process out there for waterproofing has to be done inside of a vacuum. They actually take it apart, they coat everything with it's like a silicone type, and then they put it back together. That's the only way to waterproof a device, unfortunately.
I'm right now probably where you guys were earlier in your careers. Started a business 6 months ago, trying to get through all the stuff you guys are talking about. And it's every day I just feel like I'm working on all these little things that are going on. I don't know if this is a question or not, but first of all, I want to say thank you. Because I finally found somebody who
Sure, can relate.
and overcome it. But it just seems so hard to get over the minutia and see that the goal is still there.
It is. It's discouraging.
Yeah. Like how do you rise above that every single day? Every day I get up and
I don't think about it. I think the best way to do it is not to think about the fact you're not going anywhere, because I didn't go anywhere for years. I'm still not going anywhere, to be honest. I'm going parallel. I have a million things going on, and one may work, one may not. But I never think about the fact they're not going anywhere. I just think about what it is I want them to become. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I stay driven because my dream is to make it something, and it's not there yet. And that's really what motivates me.
I just want to mention one thing. In the earlier session we did on creativity, I talked about we're starting another company, and one of the difficulties is trying to keep focused, trying to keep morale up. I believe the thing that really begins to help in those areas to overcome is to look for inspiration. And it can come from a lot of different sources. One of the things that we're doing with Digital All-Star is, we're not going to cure cancer. But what we can do is get a kid on a video and put him in an all-star game that might have cancer. And not only that, but we have an interview, so they're able to maybe say a sentiment to a loved one, whatever. But it's those things that we can do within our organization that we look for things like inspiration. Me and my goal, and with Technolog, the 25-year-old company, my inspiration is those that come to work for us every day, to give them, a meaning, really a platform that they can make themselves successful with. And so I think it's inspiration, motivation. You've got to find it to help you through those times, because with our new company and like what Eric talked about, you're going to hit walls and you're going to hit things you didn't see coming. And it's like, well, how do I get out of bed to do this? And it is really, you've got to find it in your heart, and you've got to find something that makes you inspirational. I just want to just mention one other thing too quickly, is there's a book called Built to Last. And in it is, one of the things that stuck with me is what makes successful companies and what keeps them going, companies that have been around 75 to 100 years. One that really stuck was the Sony Corporation. And it's like, well, why do these people, what makes Sony so great? Well, they didn't decide, their mission statement wasn't that they wanted to go build the best transistor radio. Their mission statement was to rebuild Japan after the war. Now that'll give you something to get up and go to work for every day. So if you can find those kind of things in your company, it'll get you through those times of...
Actually, the more I thought about it, and my and certainly Nick's focal point, what drove me the most was that other people were doing it. In Nick's case, he's saying anyone can do it if I can do it, and I always say the same thing. But what drove me the most when I started the cell phone thing, which was the hardest, was I saw all these other people doing it, and all I could think was, I can definitely do this. If all these other people are doing it, there's no way I can't do it. And that's really every night what drove me. I sent 5,000 or 7,000 emails out and never got a response. But all I could think was, I remember every night when I was sending out those emails trying to make a contact was, it is possible, because all these other people are doing it. I just have to keep doing it until it works. So that actually is what drove me in the beginning, more than anything, was the fact that I can do it if someone else can. That was my mentality.
And then you.
Can I add to Eric's and then I'll ask a question? I think another thing that drove me as well, and part of it, how can I differentiate what it is I'm doing? And I remember we had this conversation, was integrity, the concept of integrity. Because at that time, and maybe still, there was just a lot of, fly-by-night organizations, and you didn't always get what you paid for and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And what Eric said is, I'll lose money before I do that to somebody.
Yeah,
And
just like
the
Nick
whole
said.
concept of integrity too, is also a value that just drove you, and also to differentiate what it was you're doing from the thousands of other people doing the same thing.
Yeah, and Nick's story is the same. You be the best you can at what you do, and even if you're in your bedroom and they have a huge corporate office, they're not focused on a quality product anymore. They may be focused on a million other things that happens inevitably when you grow. But when you're that small, you can focus on the customer, and that goes a long way. And that's definitely what differentiated us in the beginning.
My question is for Nick. I want to know what kind of role has intuition played in the decisions that you've made in your business?
Oh, that's a great question.
Huge question.
What kind of role has intuition played in the decision making? As you go on. And early on, when I started the company, I really started because I needed a job. There was no real divine intervention. There wasn't. I guess I had the itch, but really, what motivated me was I needed a job. I was working in the quarry and doing those other things. But along the way, so I didn't really trust. The belief I had in myself was kind of small. So I didn't really trust my intuition as much in the early stages of it. I just worked hard. But then we had little successes, which began, it was like one brick at a time. And as you built the organization, as you had this one success and another, you began to be able to trust yourself. And that's why it was important. And my ABCs, it sounded simple, but your intuition, your belief system is so important to realizing your dream and to realize that this is important, if it's important to you. And I've learned to trust it. Sometimes I amaze myself. And I said, did I actually, huh?
You can't believe you did
I
that.
can't believe I did it. The more you go, the more you trust your instincts. And in fact, there's some great books on that too.
I'd like to comment on that. Actually, this session really did come about as a result of me joining the planning committee. I had not participated in Beyond Ideas before, so I really didn't know. I didn't feel like I had anything to add. So one of the first meetings I sat in on, the committee was tossing around session topics, which how the students could benefit from getting their ideas going and get them going. And I kept thinking in the back of my mind, how can we tell them to get started if we didn't tell them how hard it could be? And I had absolutely no idea of the daily commitment and dedication that it would take. And the instincts that I used every single day, I get up in the morning before I should be on the computer and thinking of ways to communicate. And I have sent letters, only like 5. I didn't send thousands, and I got a response from a major corporation. If you talk to them from here, they will hear your words, and it doesn't have to be a 2-page letter. I've written to Marriott International and have gotten a response. I have had really good luck with my contacts, but also what I brought to the committee was we came to refer to this session as snippets, which were really one-liners of encouragement and words for you to think of every day. There were things that people said to me that I had to say over and over in my mind. Do something every day. Just do something little, just if you keep moving forward, because it is difficult, because every day I say, why am I doing this? And then I look at my dining room table and I think, well, I'm not stopping now because it's got everything on it, and it's a very, very difficult process, and explaining it, it's when you find somebody who's been there, you're like, you just want to get attached to them because they can relate to your paranoia.
Cry on their shoulders.
Yeah, and how you felt when you did the domain search, and things like that. When you find the domain name that you want and it's not taken, you're like, everything's a big step, and so it's one stinking day at a time, every day, and you can get there. I'm still crawling there, but it is difficult, but I'm So snippets is what this got going. It was really just one-liners of encouragement, things you would face, things you would fear, and knowing that you're not the only one that's been there, and you'll get through it. Common side effects.
I just wanted to say that inside everyone's journal there is information that Joyce actually put together to help you keep track of what you've done over, daily, on a daily basis. It gives you an opportunity to write down daily what's going on.
It's important to keep track of your idea, and little things that, like I said, people have said to me, which just start. Just you can do it, and know where your files are. That is huge. It sounds so simple, but really know where you're putting all your contact information, and try to keep it as organized as you can, because when things start to click, and be prepared. When they say be prepared, like when you go to write this letter, you better have something for them to review if you really want them to look at your product, if it's a product or something like that. So you really kind of have to follow your intuition with, when they say, well, I'm sorry, we're not looking at any new ideas, it was like, well, we sure are. I've been working on this thing for 3 weeks, and they did. Now, I'm not saying anything came from it, but I got they took another look, and it doesn't mean that something won't come from it in the future. And I'm okay with that now. Before, you want like immediate, but now you're like okay with
It's never
waiting a little
immediate.
bit. It's never, I thought I would be done in 6 months, buttoned up, done, painless, no problem. I really thought it was so simple. I took out a book from the library, Patent It Yourself, on a recommendation from an IP lawyer, and I didn't want to buy the book because I didn't want to spend the $35.88, so I took it out of the library. I can't tell you I'm embarrassed to tell you what I paid in library fees, because I thought I am not taking that back until I just have what I need and I can just keep on going. Well, it didn't work out that way. I had to keep going over it. It familiarizes you with the terminology, which is absolutely mind-boggling that those kinds of words mean something. But it's really, that was a very helpful tool. It helped me understand where I fit and where I could fit if it didn't, if the plan A wasn't working out. So there were a lot of different things that helped me along the way, and I'm not there yet, but some days I say, I can't believe I did that.
Right.
And I'm
Totally.
kind of proud of what I did.
We have, I think we have time for a minute, a couple more questions if anybody has any, because we have 15 minutes in between sessions. And so if anybody has any more questions, I think we go another 5 minutes.
I guess both of you guys, I guess you were in similar situations. I guess your market is a bit more saturated than what you're in, but like just tips for competition, competitive analysis, just ways to analyze, because like when you're doing like your different pricing structure, or who your actual market is, deciding what your niche is, like different ways to analyze what your competitors are doing. Some tips.
Go ahead, Eric.
So he asked about, I guess you want to know, how do you understand your
Which
competition? What do you do about
different
them?
ways? Yeah, different ways to analyze what they're doing.
Right.
To make sure you're doing the right thing.
Right. So with Clearcoat, it's a better example. There's really only 3 companies in the world that make this product. One of them's publicly traded. They're huge. They're in Best Buy. They're called Invisible Shield. We got to know them inside and out. We bought from them to start, and that's what made us rethink. We were so frustrated dealing with them, and frustrated with the way they structured specifically their pricing. It almost made it impossible to turn a profit on this product, because like I said before, you stock up and you throw it out because things change so much. And we realized that not only do you have to drop the price, you have to work with people to get around things like that. So because of that situation, we saw that flaw that retailers went through buying from them. We implemented a buyback guarantee. So when we distribute our product to a retailer, we'll buy it back for 80% of the value if it doesn't sell, and you can buy something else with it. So everything we put into place was because we knew that competitor inside and out. In terms of pricing, because we're a free market economy, a lot of people make the mistake of going cheaper, 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 and that's not what it's all about. If it was all about price, you wouldn't go anywhere but Walmart, but you do. And you don't want to make that mistake. We price ours on par with our competitors, because it's not all about price. It's about differentiating yourself, making a superior product, taking care of the customer, having a better warranty. There's a million facets to it. So I think competition is very important both before and after you start your idea, but you want to just know them inside and out, know the key guys inside and out, and know what you're going to do differently than them, so that people want to buy your product and not theirs.
My turn?
Turn.
Ours is completely different from our. We entered markets where there was really no competition. which made it a whole lot easier. Really, with the Chilton scenario I painted, there were really about 3 or 4 companies kind of in that space that we went after when I started Technolog. We became the only company in that market space. Competition, Chilton folded up, Valley Forge folded up. There was about, like I said, 3 or 4 companies in it, got out of it. We owned the market, but what we kept doing too was we kept our price. Innovation was still our key, customer service, because what we wanted to do was prevent others from coming in. Now that we owned it, let's keep them from coming in, and we didn't want to cut through it. We didn't want to raise our rates or any of those things, which served us well when I eventually sold the company, because the company we sold it to was a Chilton competitor years ago. It was a company called Motor, part of this Hearst organization, and when they wanted us badly, and they made us an offer we couldn't refuse. So really being able to own that marketplace and be innovative. But what also got us there, and innovation, I mean, you say, well, okay, be innovative. Well, how do you do that? Well, one of the things that we did get involved with early on, and I pointed out, was getting involved with our association. Getting involved in a community or an association really put you in the heart of things. I mean, we knew things were happening because we were making up the rules. In the association, there were committees. I sat on and chaired some of these committees. We got to know what was going on. We made stuff up, and then we developed products to make up. So it just one hand washed the other. I mean, so it was a great scenario, and it worked out very well. Digital All-Star, which is the new company we're starting, is there's no one doing it, and we know that because we're talking with Major League Baseball and other companies. Nobody's doing that, but they're doing things very similar. And now the technology is so available, kind of almost to Eric's point. We have to try to stay innovative and keep raising the bar with either developing new equipment, inventing stuff. So we're kind of a little different approach than what Eric's doing, but innovation is the key in thinking out of the box.
Sorry, we have to wrap up now, and they'll both be at the networking on
Yeah.
And so that you talk to them again then. And I just wanted to remind everybody that the networking